Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our session for this week. I hope you're all doing well and you're doing fine. You're in the best of your health and dispositions, and you're keeping yourself healthy, your safety, and I hope you are doing all your tasks accordingly. So, for this afternoon, we shall be talking about curriculum mapping. But before we proceed, I hope everyone is already done with their task or is finishing up their task due this coming Friday. Your concept map of the three curriculum development models by Tyler, Sailor Alexander, and Taba. Please don't forget to submit it in the Google Classroom. And as a reminder, all our recordings are uploaded on YouTube, and the link is provided in the Google Classroom. Now, as a reminder, inside the description box, the instruction says you're going to leave a comment on the YouTube comment section. That comment is regarding your insights or whatever it is that you have reflected or learned in that particular session's discussion. Now, your comments are also graded as part of your participation in your outputs and tasks. Aside from your attendance in the Google Meet, your participation is also counted when you give or write or leave a comment on YouTube. I hope that is clear.
Okay, sir.
Now, in the previous session, last week, we talked about um, curriculum and the different approaches. The different approaches such as the subject-centered design model, the learner-centered design model, the problem-based design model. That was also part of the discussion last Monday. Now, what have you gained as sort of insight or learning from that particular lesson? What have you remembered? Or if you're going to summarize last Monday's lecture, can you give just a brief summary? There's a raise hand button. Please don't hesitate to use the raise hand button if you'd like to share or answer. Yes, Mr. Bantuto.
Try lang, sir. Call lang, sir. Dito lang ko sa kuan, sir. May insight about the types of curriculum. Those
Yes.
first is about um, subject-centered curriculum, which is this type is focusing on the content of the book. And then for the learner-centered curriculum is about focusing on the students' learning. The teacher will do the activities or make a plan for his or her learners. And then for the problem-centered curriculum, it's about uh, solving a solving any problems regarding on the teaching pedagogy on how teacher teach his student for their learnings. Yun lang, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Victor. Yes, indeed. In subject-centered curriculum and in um, learner-centered, we always focus on the teaching learning experiences. In any other approach, there is always a learning experience. Aside from Victor, someone also was raising her hand. Who was that? I think there was another person together with Victor earlier. Sino yung gusto pang mag-share ng kanyang natutunan from the previous session? Okay, wala na. Probably they're already satisfied with their knowledge that they don't want to share anymore. Okay, so for this afternoon, we shall proceed with curriculum mapping. Now, in the previous discussions that we've had in the beginning, they are all at the level of the larger, okay, overarching ideas on curriculum. And all the lessons that we've had prior to this afternoon, they are at the level of the curriculum designers and those that are involved in the actual writing of the curriculum. Now, because we teachers are curricularists as experts, we still have a part in that curriculum writing, but because we are not part of the national agents, I mean, we are not part of the national writers team, that our role is more likely on the curriculum implementer, or we are the ones who, okay, frontline deliver the curriculum. So the curriculum mapping is what we are most likely to have more encounter and more experience with as innovators, as implementers, and even as writers of the curriculum. So what is curriculum mapping? Now, initially on the picture on the slide there, how can you associate that to curriculum mapping? That picture of a lady, probably a traveler, with a bag and gazing forward, looking forward with a map. How is that relatable or related to curriculum mapping? In what sense does that figure symbolize or represent curriculum mapping? Anyone? Just a sort of picture analysis. How is that picture representative of curriculum mapping, or how do you uh, associate that image to curriculum mapping? I think I only have Mr. Bantuto as my student here. Yes, Victor?
About concert, uh, seeking problem about the curriculum, about the learning competency.
Okay.
Try lang sir.
Seeking problems, yes. Looking for problems, that's a good or refreshing concept. You look for problems. Okay. We can also look for solutions. Yes, thank you, Victor. Nice try. What about, yes, Miss Apolinar, Mary Joy?
Sir, I think it's about searching searching concept or content of the what in the curriculum, sir. That's all,
Okay,
sir.
searching for content because the lady looks like she's looking for something because there's the word map, mapping. Thank you, Mary Joy. Yes, Miss Belio?
Uh, about identify about the curriculum or identify what the unsay processing sa about sa imong curriculum gikuha sir.
Okay, identifying or processing the curriculum. Yes, thank you so much, Jezebel, Mary Joy, and Victor.
Sir, me, sir.
Oh, yes, Mr. Palima. Yes, Marvin. Go ahead.
Okay, I think, sir, the girl was looking for the students, kuan, about their learning strength. Yes, sir. Learning strength of the students.
Okay, learning strand of learners. Yes, part of mapping involves the strands or the different strands. Now, at the outset, curriculum mapping is a process or procedure that follows curriculum designing. So remember that there is the planning, designing, implementing, and then assessing or evaluating stage or key stage process. Now, once a curriculum is already mapped, once a curriculum is already crafted as a finished product by the writers of the national government. Now, the design, okay, is actually part of the curriculum planning and designing stage. But how are you going to connect the design to the implementation? Because right after planning and then designing, then you proceed to implementing. Iyon ang ipapatupad yung na-disenyo o nagawang curriculum. Pero ano yung pumapagitna mula sa design? Okay? Nagawa na yung curriculum, mayroon na. Nalista na yung competency. Nalista na, na-arrange na siya, naihanay na. The content, the experiences, the activities, or the goals are already stated first. Now, what you're going to do is to link that design to actual or implementation phase or implementation stage. Now, from design to implementation, you have to do some sort of bridging so that the design, it will be articulated and it will be realized or actualized in the taught curriculum level through the curriculum map. Now, why is it important to set the curriculum map? First, why is there a need for a map? What is a map for? So what is the use of the map in the sense of a curricular setting?
Guide,
Yes,
sir.
Mr. Adran?
Sir, try.
Please raise your hand. Use the
Um,
raise your hand button. Mr. Adran,
Good
yes.
afternoon, sir. The use of a map, it serves as a guide, sir.
It serves as a guide. Yes, thank you. Who was the other one earlier? Yes, Miss Oshas. Please use the raise hand button if you want to answer.
Sir, raise hand button since this Google um I'm using Google Meeting is old version.
It's better to upgrade so that you can use the feature of the raise hand button. Yes, you have something to say?
Um, the use of the map is to identify or address the missing curriculum or the finding the proper procedure in getting the curriculum and delivering to the students. I think that's all, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, it's about getting it right to the delivery of the curriculum so that everything that is actually planned in the framework will be parallel and will be aligned towards the learner's end or towards instruction. So prior to implementation, the map is outlined or being made. Now, a curriculum map, one of the characteristics is that it serves as a visual timeline of the desired learning outcomes, contents, skills, and values taught, even instructional time and assessment. Remember, the curriculum that is given to us, as stated in our CG, the curriculum guides, are generic. When we say generic, they are for the use of all educational institutions or for all schools under the DepEd because we're teaching junior high school or senior high school or basic education. Now, these CGs that are already given to us as prescribed or recommended curriculum is templated on the national framework or the Philippine Qualifications Framework, the PQF, which is based on the government's mission and vision. But remember, each school, specifically in the private sector, in the private education institutions, each school has a unique characteristic in terms of branding. When you say branding, the schools are able to maintain a particular set of standards that is unique to their institution because they are promoting or adhering to their sets of values at the same time. Each school has a particular image or a particular set of identification that makes it different or unique from the rest of the schools. That's in the private school setting. And even in the public school, even if we say that the public school is generally following the government template, but at each context, at each level, especially at the school level, they will have to adapt to their own locality, to their own ethnicity and local history, in the same way as private schools do. Remember, the identity of private schools are not the same. You have an identity of a GCCN, which follows the different core values that are embodied and coming forth from our mission and vision. Another school also will have its own vision and mission. Therefore, aligning the curriculum in terms of a curriculum map will help in trying to merge what is the mandated or the standard given by the government through DepEd and adapting it or tailoring it to the school's own standards. Each school will have its own identity. You are the same as to curriculum, which means all students taking up education are taking up all the same subjects that you have right now. All other schools offering senior high school or junior high school, they have the same set of minimum standard subjects given by DepEd. But what makes you different from the same students? Ano ang nakapagbubukod tangi sa inyong lahat mula sa iba? What will be the distinction? Ano magiging kaibahan nito? That particular distinction is actually your identity per school. Lahi ang maestra nga gikan na graduate sa GCC, lahi kung gikan ka sa GICC, lahi po kung gikan ka sa CKC. Ngano man, maura mga subject ang gikuha na nila. It is because each school have or has its own vision and mission. And the alignment of that vision and mission, okay, will be seen in the values that will be incorporated and aligned to the curriculum map. And also, the curriculum map is geared or aligned to the school calendar. The budget, the time allotment is, of course, plotted against the beginning of the school year until the end of the term or the school year. The curriculum map provides quality control. because it will check whether things are aligned from the vision and mission of the school to the content standards and the performance standards in the curriculum, to the competencies, to the values that the school have or that the school will inculcate, to the activities that will be done in the classroom level, and to the assessment techniques and strategies that will evaluate learning, and to the materials that will be used as resources. So it will be a sort of check and balance because of the curriculum map. It also intends to improve instruction because in the curriculum map, you're going to provide what method or strategies you're going to use or implement when a particular competency and a particular topic will be given or will be implemented. And of course, again, the school calendar is very important because each school has a unique set of calendar of activities. We might have the same holidays in national aspect, but we have different local holidays and we have different school related holidays that we want to integrate also in terms of our activities or in terms of delivering lesson or content. For instance, during July, it's the National Nutrition Month. Okay? Nutrition Month celebration. So when it comes with the Nutrition Month, you have to know that what particular topics can be themed or conceptualized for Nutrition Month in subject areas in math, in science, especially in TLE, or even in English, that can also align to the school calendar. Or what if it's the month of Christmas, December? What particular activities or lessons can be geared towards that so that there will be some sort of synchronization? Aside from that, we need also to take into consideration that the school year, although it's 10 months in the budget of the curriculum guide from the DepEd, we need to take into consideration interruptions that will happen to make our timelines work. Remember, in our country, given that we are part of the tropical and equatorial regions, we have typhoons that interrupt classes. We have other events that might hinder the um, development of classes. Especially now in the new normal, we are struck with a pandemic, so we are adjusting the curriculum to fit our context, as well as the curriculum maps. So one of the proponents of curriculum mapping is Dr. Heidi Hayes Jacobs. Okay? So she's one of the experts or the ones who um, espoused curriculum mapping. So for her, okay, curriculum mapping is a process of collecting and recording curriculum-related data that identifies the following. These are the core components of a curriculum map. First are core skills, then content, then processes, and then assessment. Now, we're talking about the subject and grade level specifics. So each subject, each grade level is the focus of a map. It's not in general. That's why I'm telling you that the curriculum mapping will be nearer to us teachers because we are at the classroom front lines. Now, when we talk about core skills, it talks about the functional and employability skills, the tools that our students need to prosper in a globalized world. Now, the core skills are already encapsulated in the curriculum guide in terms of the statement of competencies. Now, I'm very sure you have already explored the curriculum guide of the DepEd. So the core skills are found in the competencies and also in the content and performance standards. Ang mga pamantayang pangnilalaman at pamantayan sa pagganap o paggawa, doon na nakalagay o nakasulat yung core skills. And of course, the content. It refers to the body of knowledge and information that teachers teach and that students are expected to learn. So also in the curriculum guide, these are all present. The core skills and the content. Makikita nyo na yan kasi naka-enumerate na yan sa isang CG. However, the processes and the assessment, this will be to the end or towards the teacher's end. The processes determine how students will acquire the information and use it. So this talks about the strategies and the procedures or the classroom experiences and activities that will be provided to the students. So dito, nagkakaiba-iba na ang process. The process in which the core skills and the contents will be achieved. Why? Because the teacher must adapt to the context of the students. Hindi naman pwedeng magkapareho-pareho ang gagawin mo from one section to another section or kokopyahin lang from one year or one grade level to another grade level. Because students, as we believe, are diverse, are having or possessing different learning styles, different multiple intelligences. And then assessment. Because we have differentiated the processes or we have used different strategies, thus our testing, the measurement and assessment, so that we can determine the outcome of the lesson, the type of test, the quality of tests, whether it's authentic, performance-based, or it will be traditional, pen and paper, will also depend on the strategies and the processes. But all of them must be able to go back to the core skills and the content, and of course, the goals and objective that is set in the curriculum. Thus, the curriculum map will answer the essential questions on what did my child learn in school? As parents, as teachers, as stakeholders in general, they will be looking into and evaluate the quality of learning in terms of ano bang natutunan ng aking anak ng isang estudyante mula sa paaralan. That is why the purpose of curriculum mapping cannot be underemphasized and it cannot be taken for granted. Okay? If you look at this particular visual representation, this is a sort of concept map also. Okay? It will actually give you the idea that it becomes the roadmap for success, which means that the curriculum map is actually the attainment of the outcomes towards how students will attain those outcomes in different ways. How they develop knowledge, skills, and values, and what are the different strategies being employed by teachers, and then what ideal assessment strategies must be given so that they will be producing the ideal graduate. And of course, that lifelong quality, which is learning beyond the content or learning beyond the subject matter to learning lifelong skills. So one of the purpose of curriculum mapping is to improve instruction. We can improve instruction because once we get the results of the assessment, we can go back to, if the results are favorable, they achieve the intended outcomes, the objectives, and the goals. Now, if the results will give some differences, you can check whether your processes, your strategies, your activities might have something to do with it. So therefore, you can use another activity or provide another set of experiences, or even your assessment itself must be the problem. So you therefore maintain, in number two, quality of education. Aside from that, it also prevents redundancy in the curriculum. Because when you study closely curriculum guides and the content and skills development, especially in the spiral progression, it will tell you that some skills and some competencies are already mastered and are repeated at some other grade level or some other points in the timeline. So you can use elimination or even um, complementation or even merging. Pag paulit-ulit na yung competency o skill, pabalik-balik na, same topics or topics are seemingly or similarly the same, then you actually can skip or reduce or combine or even um, merge with other topics so that the time and the budget will also be utilized for more important or significant activities. It also addresses the academic gap, the employability, and the skills. Remember, the curriculum must be a middle ground for what students will be able to learn and know based on their interests and motivation, and what also the school needs to produce so it can answer the needs of society. Ano dapat yung matugunan ng isang curriculum map? The students' needs, the learners' interests, plus the needs of the society. It bridges the gap between, pag ito ang kailangan ng industry, ng mga kumpanya, ano ba dapat ang gawin ng mga paaralan para yung gagraduate sa kanila makapasok doon sa mga kumpanya o establishments. Students need to communicate, for example. You have the need to express yourselves. But that expression of self is part of the language needs. Also, in the workplace and the establishments, they also need persons who can work and use communication skills, such as they can speak well, they can write letters, or they can write and produce documents with good grammar and composition. So since both are communication needs, what particular content, what particular skills will be developed? That's the role of the curriculum map. What particular activities will be provided to the students? Kaya nga ba, sa senior high school, you have writing letters, application letters, you have mock interviews, you have job interviews, writing resume, because those are the employability skills. Kinahanglan man nimo makabalo ka og no, atubang sa mga mag-interview sa imo para pag pang-apply nimo trabaho pohon. You're also going to write your business letter. So that's why even in school, even at the school level, you're also being subjected to such experiences. Thus, it resolves misalignment, because misalignment is where waste of energy, waste of time, and waste of competency is present. Now, what is taught must be tested. What has been learned must be evaluated. There must be some sort of congruence or parallelism No? Kung unsay gitudlo, mura sa itong i-test. Kung unsay mga activities o experiences, dapat similar pod ang mga testing strategies. It also avoids academic inconsistency. Academic inconsistencies happen when the teacher or because the teacher in the same level teaching the same subject would be using different books or resource materials. Thus, they may be giving different information or different topics. The curriculum guide will help control, as we say. Because if you follow a curriculum guide, even if you are 2 or 3 teachers teaching that particular subject in the same grade level, you can still uniformly give activities or use the same reference or resources so that all the students will have the same result of learning. Dili ignon nga, ay, tsada man tong katong first section kay maayo man nga maestra ang nagtudlo. Katong uban nga section kay lahi naman nga teacher ang nagtudlo, hindi na maayo. Kung ang curriculum map ang atong basihan, it doesn't matter who the teacher is because in the curriculum map, nabutang naman dito unsay mga buhaton, the processes, and the same testing assessment methods. Thus, a curriculum map is a helpful planning tool. It's a tool for planning. It's also a tool or procedure for examining and organizing curriculum. And it allows educators to determine how skills, content, and assessment will unfold over the course of the year and their pacing or their time allotment and budget and how they will blend or integrate with other subjects. So how is this done? When we say it becomes a tool for planning, it becomes an organizational process for organizing curricula and also to help pace or budget. In the simplest terms, curriculum maps begin with, okay, of course, making a matrix. Matrices, that's why it's a visual timeline because you will utilize using charts or some sort of graphical representation. So it's matrix in essence. Now, what's inside the matrix? Okay. You have to place the timeline that you need to cover. You need to put into the time allotment, which means in this example, our time allotment in the curriculum is always per grading period, per quarter, first grading, up to fourth or last or final quarter. And the quarters are divided into weeks, okay, for junior high school. For senior high school, it's into semesters. Okay, so on a weekly basis, then you divide the quarter. One quarter is roughly around 8 weeks, okay, or 6 to 8 weeks. And then, of course, in the matrix, you enter the intended learning outcome and the skills needed to be taught. Now, that is, of course, already given in the curriculum guide. Nakabutang na sa curriculum guide from your content standards and performance standards and the competencies. And also in the competencies, you already notice that it's already by week, no? Into week by week competencies. So you just fill in. First column will be the week covered. The second column will be the intended learning outcomes or the competencies, which is on a weekly basis. Then after that, you identify from the ILO, the intended learning outcomes, you identify the content. And of course, the content is already found in the curriculum guide. So there's no need to think about this portion because it's a given. Matatagpuan na yan sa curriculum guide. Then enter and align the name of the resources available. Now this time, this will be towards the teachers or the school's end. What are the resources available and what will be your references, textbooks, modules, or even equipments when needed? Okay, so what will be the resources that you will be needing to deliver that content and achieve the outcome? Depende man na. Okay, bigger schools with a lot of facilities and a lot of resources, library materials, will have a lot of resources. But it doesn't mean nga kung gamay naman mga eskwelahan, sir, wala may resources. What is the role of a teacher as being a curricularist? You're also an innovator. And an innovator is finding ways, making something based on what is scarcely given and becoming resourceful. So then you place your resources so that you can assess, ay unsay kulang, ay unsay naa, unsay wala. So that in the future planning, sa next time nga mag-planning na pud mo, you already found out nga kulang ta dani nga libro or wala ta inani nga material or we need to download this and that. So nana kay guide dayon nga okay, basin po dita maka-request, maka-budget para dani nga material, kani nga equipment or makahulam tag libro asa ba dapit. Then enter the teaching method or the strategies and how you're going to deliver the content and the learning experiences. Unsa may method, unsa may pamaagi para ma-achieve nimo ang outcome o mahatag ang content. So you put your method. I believe you already know what are the different methods and strategies of teaching and learning. Are you done with your principles of teaching? I assume you're done with principles of teaching na dito ang mga approaches, strategies, and methods and procedures or different types of learning activities. Are you familiar with that as of now? Okay. Did you have principles of teaching as a subject or some other related subject like that? Wala? Okay. Siguro nakalimot na mo or kamulot pa nyo gitake. And then, after the activity or the method, then of course, align the assessment procedure. The assessment procedure will be what kind of testing, what kind of measurement and assessment strategies are you going to use to check whether your students will or has achieved the outcomes and the content. And of course, after you map out your subject area for 1 quarter, atong example kay 1 week raman na, but actually you map out for the whole quarter, for the whole grading period. Then you may want to share it to your other teachers or co-teachers so that you will give each other feedback and will improve each other's curriculum maps and give suggestions. You cannot keep it to yourself. You need others to validate and assure you that what you're doing is actually on the right track. Many heads are better than one. And then, of course, when you share it with your colleagues, with your co-teachers, there will always be revisions to make everything as perfect as possible. Then after it's finished and finally done, you can distribute to all concerned. Labi na kung ang isa ka subject ay daghan na tudlo nga teacher. So you become like science department, English department, or if you integrate as an interdisciplinary approach, ang inyong activity sa science is also connected with an activity in math or in other subjects, English to Araling Panlipunan, you can compare and contrast and merge your curriculum map with the other subject teachers so that you will be uniform. Kanabitaw, balag isa ra ka activity ang gihimo sa estudyante, pero daghan nga subject dadto ang appeal. Graduhan ang gyapon ang ubang subjects kay na-carried man ang ilang skills sa content ug ang interdisciplinary correlations. So as of this point, okay, any question or clarification? Is it clear or probably almost understandable? Masabtan ba? Maklaruhan ba siya sabot? Yes, Victor?
Ay, sir, ko lang na siya, sir, kaning about itong core skills, sir, ba? Ako lang siya, sir, kaning
Yes.
clarification, kaning sa private school, sir, same ra mo mga core skills, sir.
Yes, of course. The core skills refer to the competencies and then the performance and content standards. In the CG later, by next week, we shall have an activity on curriculum mapping using this templates or guideline. As I said earlier, kaning core skills o kaning content, makita nato na siya sa atong curriculum guide.
Ah, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Okay naman, sir.
Yes. Moving further, this is actually the last part. So after we can do a matrix, the simple matrix, of course, we will notice that the curriculum map, okay, will produce a visual timeline. It's like a graphic organizer that outlines the outcomes to be achieved. Thus, it provides quality control and in, in, in effect, it maintains excellence, efficiency, and effectiveness. It can be simple to something like a simple chart, or it can be elaborate. Of course, something like this. This is college level curriculum map na or a general identification of curriculum. No? Di na nagagamit og mga sentences but coding na. But at any rate, a curriculum map is a tool that will help the teacher. It's not a tool that will make the teacher scared. It can be used by an individual teacher, the department, and a whole school system. And it is transparent. Anyone can see the curriculum map, most especially the parents, because they're the ones that are really concerned also with their child or children's learning progress. It is a work in progress. A curriculum map is not something finite. It may still be revised and refined over time. Remember, dito sa mga process o sa assessment, imo man ang ianggid, i-match sa imo mga students kung unsa ilang mga competencies. So therefore, kada tuig lahi mga klase nga estudyante, imo sa nang i-adapt, no? Ihaom para sa ila. Then it provides good info for modification of curriculum, changing standards, and competencies. Of course, as a frontliner, as a teacher frontliner, you can tell your supervisor, your principal, ma'am, inani gid ang actual nga kahimtang. So that later on, kung naay mag-evaluate nga taga-division, taga-region, or national, DepEd nga mga personnel, you can relay the same information and that they also get a feedback kay para pod basi na adi ay mahimo nga solution to that particular problem encountered. And of course, the horizontal and vertical articulations. It should be coherent horizontally and vertically. Because a curriculum map, when it is already put in place, it can be checked horizontal and vertical in terms of the curriculum guide. Diba, horizontal, it's about the breadth, no, the scope. And vertical, it's about the depth. Okay? The understanding level, ang lalim. Ang horizontal, ang lawak. So horizontal alignment is also called pacing guide. Okay? The horizontal alignment is actually for the time, no? Time boundedness, the timeline from beginning to the end. Well, the vertical alignment is a spiral from simple to complex. Sayon hantod sa pinakalisod. And because the curriculum guide promotes interdisciplinary connections among teachers, among students, and other courses or other subjects. Okay, and to end, we have this quote: good teachers are the reason why ordinary students dream to do extraordinary things. Why is this connected to curriculum mapping? Because a teacher who plans well, will always have a good result in the teaching and learning process. And curriculum mapping as a planning tool prior to implementation will help teachers provide the appropriate context of the activities so that students will be fully engaged, they will fully participate and collaborate, and then they will fully know, develop, and succeed the curriculum goals, objectives, and competencies. So that's actually the end of discussion for curriculum mapping. Clarifications, questions, or any concern regarding this topic? Your silence would mean yes. Of course, there is time to process this. By next meeting, by next Monday, okay, I want you to familiarize yourselves with the curriculum guide for Filipino. Okay, I'm sure you have already explored, but I want you to familiarize yourselves with the curriculum guide for Filipino, okay, grade 8, grade 8 Filipino. I'm sure you can download the CG, it's always available. So just familiarize yourselves with Filipino grade 8.
Ang markahan sir ini kuan sir ini
All the
reading.
all the coverage for Filipino grade 8 from first to fourth quarter.
Okay sir.